नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्। Hare Krishna Mataji. Wish you all a very, very happy Rath Yatra day today. Jagannath has actually won the case in Supreme Court to come out and give his auspicious glances and mercy on all the devotees. So, yeah, always it is proved that no, Krishna always wins. So we just pray to at the Lord's feet of Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra Mai to cast their auspicious glance on this universe so that the universe will get rid of this most difficult times of coronavirus, so that all the people can become happy and be situated peacefully, so that we can carry on devotional service peacefully. So this is our humble prayer at the Lotus feet of Jagannath ji today. We have being a Rath Yatra, just to understand the mood of Rath Yatra, there is a nice verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which I thought we will just, before we start with our Bhagavatam class, Bhagavatam verses, just share with you. Can you see the verse, Mataji? It's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Madhya Leela 13.137. So this gives the mood of the Rath Yatra. So to understand what is the mood of Rath Yatra, recently we had the solar eclipse. A few days back we went through solar eclipse, and it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam that during the time of solar eclipse, in the place of Kurukshetra, Kurukshetra is considered to be a Dharma Kshetra, so where so many yajnas and yagas have been performed long time back itself. So in that area, everybody comes because it is a holy place. During the time of eclipse, we are supposed to take snan and do some pujas and sacrifices at the holy place. So everybody assembles in Kurukshetra. So Krishna comes with all his Vasudeva, Devaki, Rohini, everybody comes with all his assistants. Everybody comes to Kurukshetra. And also Nanda Maharaj, Yashoda Maya, the gopis, the cowherd boys from Vrindavan, everybody, they come and they have a very nice meeting, a get together in Kurukshetra during the time of solar eclipse. So actually this is the first time after Krishna has left for Mathura. Just now we are going to see, now Akrura is going to carry Krishna from Vrindavana to Mathura. So after Krishna, Akrura takes away Krishna from Vrindavan. This is the first time Krishna is going to meet all the residents of Vrindavan. So it has been a long separation for them. In between, Krishna is married, queens are there, 16,108 queens are there. So his family has increased. So he's now Dwaraka king and all these things are there. So he's everybody is meeting there. At that time, Srimati Radharani also meets with Krishna and the gopis meet with Krishna. And now their mood is to take back Krishna with them to Vrindavan. Because Vrindavan is a nice village setting, very natural atmosphere where they had seen Krishna in their younger days. And that is the same place they want to have a nice time or enjoy with Krishna. So they want to bring back Krishna to Vrindavan. This is the mood of Rath Yatra. The gopis and Srimati Radharani desiring to bring back Krishna to Vrindavan. So that is why there is a beautiful mood of Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says this verse in front of the Rath. He feels like this. Anyera hridaya mana mora mana Vrindavana mane vane eka kari jani tahan tomar pada dvaya karaha yadi budaya tabe tomar purna kripa mani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, speaking in the mood of Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, for most people, the mind and heart are one. But because my mind is never separated from Vrindavana, I consider my mind and Vrindavana to be one. My mind is already Vrindavana. And since you like Vrindavana, Krishna, will you please place your lotus feet there? I would deem that your full mercy. So this is the mercy which Radharani is seeking from Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Radharani, is requesting Krishna to come and put his lotus feet in Vrindavan, because Krishna likes Vrindavan. He is a Vrajaraj. So he, please come and put your lotus feet in Vrindavana, which is actually my mind now. So that is why we have to understand the whole purpose of our devotional service. So the various processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, everything is to convert our mind into Vrindavan. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, my mind is already Vrindavan. So when the mind becomes a Vrindavana again, Krishna will definitely set his foot, because why not? Because Krishna loves Vrindavan like anything. So the whole purpose is to purify ourselves in such a way that Krishna will be pleased to put his lotus feet in the Vrindavana of our mind. So this is the mood with which the Krishna is being, the Jagannath, Baldev, and Subhadra are being placed in the chariot, and they are being pulled towards Vrindavan. The same way we shall pray to Jagannathji today to just please help us in this process of converting our mind into original Vrindavan, because we were all originally pure souls. That's what Prabhupada says and the scriptures say. So it has been because of material association, it has gone into contamination. Now our prayer is that because now we have been given the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and especially Srila Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj, that we have given an opportunity to purify ourselves through the various processes of devotional service. So let us convert our mind into Vrindavan, so that Krishna will be very much pleased to put his lotus feet there. So this is the mood of Rath Yatra. So now in this mood, let us go again to our Bhagavatam third canto, where we are seeing the Bhagavad Dhyana Sopana, the steps of meditating on the various limbs of the Lord, which we have been going through. We went through the first 3, 28, 21, and 22, I think. We went through that. Maybe I can open that also. 1 minute.
Mataji, please put your video on, Mataji.
Yeah, my video is already on, Mataji. Is it not? Okay, you can't see me?
Yes, it is on.
We can see.
It is on. Yeah, it is on. 1 minute. I'll open the first 2 verses. Okay. Okay, now we will just revise these first 2 verses. Can you see the screen? Bhagavad Dhyana Sopana.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
so now we will revise the first 2 verses we have seen already. So as we all know, Krishna is an embodiment. Krishna, the Lord, is an embodiment of both. The 2 beauties are there. The beauty is divided into 2 according to the scriptures. One is called Saundarya, and another is called Lavanya. Now we have heard these names. We keep children, the girl children, the name Saundarya and Lavanya. So both of them mean beauty only. Saundarya also means beauty. Lavanya also means beauty. But there is a slight difference is there. The subtle and fine difference is that Lavanya is a beauty of the whole personality as such. No, when we see somebody, we see, oh, she looks very beautiful. He looks very smart, like this. We say, so if we see him from a distance or see that girl from a distance, and she gives a very beautiful picture of herself. So then that is called Lavanya, where everything put together, the picture looks very beautiful. That is called Lavanya. The word Lavanya comes from the word in Sanskrit. It has got a meaning. In Sanskrit is a very perfected language that every word has got a root word from which everything comes. So Lavana in Sanskrit, you all know, is salt. Lavana we say is salt. So when we put salt into water, what will happen? It will just get completely merged into the water, and the whole water becomes salty. So we cannot pinpoint where the salt is there. Just if you drink the whole water tastes salty. In the same way, the whole thing as a body, the full picture of the person, it looks very, very beautiful. That is called Lavanya. And Saundarya is the beauty of each and every part of the body. Just like eyes are beautiful, ears are beautiful, nose is beautiful. That is called Saundarya, the beauty of each and every limb. That is called Saundarya. So Krishna is both Saundarya and Lavanya. But in the case of the other living entities, it is extremely rare or even impossible to see somebody who has got both Saundarya and Lavanya together. So if it takes just see a picture, the person will look very beautiful. But if you go deeply, if you just try to see his eyes or his ears or his nose, somewhere some fault will be there, which means it will not be in proper proportion or it will not be very beautiful. Some deficiency will definitely be there, because we are all human beings. So this is bound to be there. But Krishna is Anavadya. Krishna is fault. Anavadya means faultless. There is no fault. So that is why he has got both Saundarya beauty and Lavanya beauty. That is why even we say in the movies, we see some heroines, they look very beautiful. We see, oh, she looks very beautiful. But the same heroine goes, she says, I want to perform surgery for my nose. I want to perform surgery for my ears. All this, why they're doing? Because they may have Lavanya, but Saundarya is missing. That is what they at least feel, There's no satisfaction in her beauty. So, but Krishna is in all ways beautiful. Every limb of Krishna is beautiful. That is why we started the meditation as per instructions given by Kapila Muni on meditating on the various limbs of the Lord. Now we shall just revise. I request Geeta Mataji to just follow me. So she will follow me so that others can just mute your mics and then you follow. You also please follow, but Mataji will unmute and just follow me. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 21. Sanchintayet Bhagavatascharanarvindam.
सञ्चिन्तयेद् भगवतश्चरणारविन्दम्
Vajrankushadhvaja saroruhalanchanadhyam.
वज्राङ्कुशध्वजसरोरुगलाञ्छनाढ्यम्
उत्तुङ्गरक्तविलसन्नखचक्रवाल.
उत्तुङ्गरक्तविलसन्नखचक्रवाल
ज्योत्स्नाभिराहतमहृदयान्धकारम्.
ज्योत्स्नाभिराहतमहद्धृदयान्धकारम्.
Mataji, read the translation. Geeta Mataji, read the translation.
The devotee should first concentrate his mind on the Lord's lotus feet, which are adorned with the marks of the thunderbolt, a gourd, a banner, and a lotus. The splendor of their beautiful ruby nails resembles the orb of the moon and dispels the thick gloom of one's heart.
Okay. So I think some of you would have tried at least to chant these verses through the week, and maybe some of you would have got it by heart. So I just request the Matajis to just try to learn these verses. If you just repeat it again and again, repetition is the way to get it by heart. Okay. Next, 3:28:22. Yachaucha nisrita sarit pravarodakena.
यच्छौच निःसृतसरेत्प्रवरोदकेन
तीर्थेन मूर्ध्नि अधिकृतेन शिवः शिवोऽभूत्.
तीर्थेन मूर्ध्नि अधिकृतेन शिवः शिवोऽभूत्.
ध्यातुर्मनः शमलशैलनिसृष्टवज्रम्.
ध्यातुर्मनः शमलशैलनिसृष्टवज्रम्.
ध्यायेच्चिरं भगवतः चरणारविन्दम्.
ध्यायेच्चिरं भगवतश्चरणारविन्दम्.
Read the translation of this.
The blessed Lord Shiva becomes all the more blessed by hearing on his head, bearing on his head the holy waters of the Ganges, which has its source in the water that washed the Lord's lotus feet. The Lord's feet act like thunderbolts hurled to shatter the mountain of sin stored in the mind of the meditating devotee. One should therefore meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time.
Right. So here we saw that how the Lord's lotus feet is compared to a thunderbolt. Even though it is very soft like a lotus, it is herein compared to a thunderbolt in order to shatter the mountain of sins which are stored. Can anybody tell me which is the Asura, Lord's, which is small, very small, little soft lotus feet? Krishna killed one Asura like a thunderbolt. Can anybody tell? Anyone wants to tell? Yes, Shakatasura. So he was just a born child, a few months old child, but he just kicked them, just like a thunderbolt, it worked on him. And then he was just in the same way, in order to shatter our mountain of sin, which is accumulated within our mind. Krishna's lotus feet, remembrance of Krishna's lotus feet acts like a thunderbolt. Okay. So now we go to the next, that is the knees and the thighs. Okay. So I will have, I have one. See, so this is, I have to thank our Jyoti Mataji who helped me with this. Can you see? Can everybody see?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, okay. So now we are going to this 3:28, 23. Okay. Geeta Mataji will repeat after me. Okay. Janudvayam
Janudvayam
Jalajalochanaya
Jalajalochanaya
Jananya
Jananya
Lakshmyakhilस्य
Lakshmyakhilस्य
Suravanditaya
Suravanditaya
Vidhatuhu
Vidhatuhu
Purvor
Urvor
Nidhaya
Nidhaya
Karapallava
Karapallava
Rochishaya
Rochishayat
Samlalitam
Samlalitam
Hridi Vibhor
Hridi Vibhor
Abhavasya Kuryad.
Abhavasya Kuryat.
So here we can see Janudvayam. Now maybe you can see the equivalence. 1 minute. Yes. Can you see the equivalence now? Geeta Mataji, can you read it? Yeah.
Yes, Mataji. Janudvayam up to the knees. Jalajalochanaya, lotus-eyed. Jananya, mother. Lakshmya, by Lakshmi. Akhilasya, of the entire universe. Suravanditaya, worshipped by the demigods. Vidatuhu, of Brahma. Urvoho, at the thighs. Nidhaya, having placed. Karapallava Rochisa, Rochisha, with her lustrous fingers, yet which Samlalitam massaged Hridi in the heart, Vibhoho of the Lord, Abhavasya, transcendental to material existence, Kuryat, one should meditate.
So next he comes to the next, place where we have to meditate. So now Mataji can read the translation, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. The yogi should fix in his heart the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all the demigods and is the mother of the Supreme Person, Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord very carefully, serving him in this way.
So this is the picture you can see of Lakshmi doing Pada Sevan, no? Massaging the lotus feet of Vishnu. So this is the what meditation we are supposed to do next, Kapila Muni says. So here it says, Janu Dvayam. Janu means the knees. The knees are called the Janu. So we have seen the lotus feet, and now we are seeing from the lotus feet up to the knees nearing the thighs. So we are just slowly moving from the lotus feet to the Lord till we go to the smiling face of the Lord, which we'll see at the end. Third, I think it is the 13th verse if we see. Now, this is the third verse. So here, Janu, as you all know, if you are from the south side, before the marriage, we have a ceremony called Janu Vasam. In North India, I don't know if they have. This is called Janu Vasam, where the bridegroom is placed in a car or some chariot, or in those days it was a chariot, or on the, maybe in the North Indians also they do, they sit on the top, they come on horse riding, something like that. So they used to sit in a car, and then they used to go around and come then do the puja and all, and they were presented with cloth by the in-laws. So this is the way it was done. So Janu Vasam, Janu means knee actually. Vasa means cloth. Vasa, we call it as cloth, Why it was called Janu Vasa? Because in those days, a brahmachari, after finishing his studies and all, he will be ready for marriage. So he'll be a brahmachari at the time. As a brahmachari, a boy is not supposed to wear anything below his knees, which means he should have a small gamcha, white cloth, which will go up to the knees only. They will wear in those days, because they are supposed to, and then they will not use any, makeup items and all, powder. Then they will not use any fan like that. So much of austerity was there. If you're a brahmachari in a gurukula, then you're supposed to observe so much of austerity. So no, the spices, they will not use any spice. No, the scents and all, no, they will never use all these things. So the marriage was the first occasion where everything will be given to them at that time. So the Januvasam day before the marriage, he is supposed to present himself as a brahmachari, which means he should be wearing a cloth only up to the knee. And nowadays we see these children wearing, what do you call? 3/4, no? I don't know what is Bermudas or something. They are wearing. Maybe they call themselves brahmachari by wearing that. But even grahasthas, even vanaprasthas they wear nowadays. Everybody wears this januvasam now. So this janu, I just told you to remember the word janu so that you will not forget it. So janu dvayam is Krishna's niece. Janu dvayam means two. And jalaja lochanaya. So here this Lakshmi is very beautifully described. Jalaja lochanaya. Jalaja means what? Jala means water, Jala is water. Ja means that which comes out of the water, which means it is here in referring to the lotus. The lotus also comes from the water, it comes on the top of the water. Actually, it is also called Pankaja. Jalaja here it is mentioned. Somewhere it will be Pankaja. Panka means muddy waters. Here it is mentioned just as water, but even then it refers to the lotus. Or another meaning we can say Jalaja is something which comes in the water, lives in the water is also a fish, fish also lives in the water. So Jalaja means fish. Meenakshi we call, So Meenakshi means one who has got eyes like a fish, which is, with moving here and there with beautiful eyes. Meenakshi, that is why we have in Madurai, in South India, there's a beautiful temple of Meenakshi, where our goddess Meenakshi is so beautiful to look at with her beautiful eyes, And with her eyes, they're just like a fish protects all the children by looking at them, that is the way the fish nourishes the children. Its child. In the same way, the mother, the goddess also, she looks after all of us. We are all children of Jagannatha. She just by her eyesight, she nourishes us or takes care of us. So she is called Jalaja Lochanaya. Lakshmi is Jagannatha. She is Jalaja Lochanaya or lotus eye. That is why we have the words also in the scriptures. Jalaja, Navalakshani, means aquatics. Anything which is born from the water is called Jalaja. Jalaja Lochanaya, Jananya. Jananya is mother. She is our mother. Lakshmiya, Akhilasya Suravanditaya. And she is being worshipped by all the demigods. Everybody, even Brahma is also worshipping her. Bhagavatam says in the 3rd canto, I think 16th chapter, Reksha Lavartha Itare Nihaman Vahanti Niyaman Vahanti. Reksha Yatsevya, that verse starts. So 16:7, I think. So in that verse it says, Reksha Lavartha. Lava means, very little. So lava artha, just to get something little of opulences, what they are doing? Niyaman Vahanti. They are doing long penances and austerities just to get a glance of the end of the eyesight of Lakshmi Devi. Kataksham, we call it Kataksham. That here now, Krishna willing Anuradha Mataji will be singing Jagannath Ashtakam to at the end of the class, because today is Jagannath is in the Rath now. So that here it says Kataksha, it will come. The word Kataksha. Jagannath, we are looking for the Krishna's Kataksha, Jagannath's Kataksha. Means the end of the sight of the lotus. Even the small eyesight, if we get glance of that Lord, we get also, we become completely purified. So Suravanditaya Vidatu, and she is also what she is the mother of Brahmaji, it says. Actually, Brahma is produced from the lotus which is coming out of the navel of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, which means actually Krishna doesn't depend upon Lakshmi for producing his child, his son Brahmaji. It is not like the material relationship where both the father and the mother are required for producing a child. Herein, Krishna himself from his own navel, the lotus is coming and Brahma is born. But still, Lakshmi is considered to be the mother of Brahmaji. That is why here it is Suravanditaya Vidatuhu Jananya. Jananya. She is Vidatuhu Jananya. She is the mother for everybody also. She is Vidatuhu, Brahma's mother. He is here it is referred as. Purvor Vidhaya Kar. And what is she doing? She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the transcendental Lord with her Kara Pallava. It's very beautiful, soft lotus hands. She is doing the service. Uru. Uru means the thigh. That is why Urvashi. We will come in the next verse also. More explanation of the Uru will come. Uru means thigh, the thigh of the Lord. So in the Naranarayana pastime, we will see in the next class when we learn the next verse. Naranarayanas produce so many beautiful angels from their thighs, and one of them is called Urvashi because she is coming out from the Uru or the thigh of the Lord. She was called Urvashi. Urvashi becomes Urvashi. So Urvor Vidhaya Karapallava Rochishayat Samlalitam means she is doing massage. Massage means not strong massage. Samlalitam. Lalita itself means very gentle, softly it is done. Samyak Lalitam. It's very nicely, very softly she is doing the massage. Samlalitam, Hridi Vibhor, Abhavasya Kuryat. But this is not like our material relationship. This service between Vishnu and Lakshmi is not like a material relationship. We should not confuse it with a husband and wife relationship with the material world. It is completely spiritual. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the transcendental Lord, very carefully serving him in this way. This is what we have to learn from her. How to serve Krishna very carefully. Samlalitam Hridi Vibhor, Abhavasya. Abhavasya. Bhava means the material existence. Abhava means something which is transcendental. So this is a transcendental relationship. So this is a picture. I have put the picture. Mataji, Jyoti Mataji, she has put the picture. See, very nice picture. So we have to keep this picture in our heart of meditating on from the lotus feet up to the knees and beginning with the thighs. The thighs will come in the next almost will come. So up to the knees. So this is the meditation of how Lakshmi ji is massaging. Okay. So we will recite once more. Geeta Mataji will follow me. Janudvayam jala jalochanaya jananya.
Janudvayam jala-jalocanaya jananya.
Lakshmya kilasya suravanditaya vidhatuhu.
Lakshmya kilasya suravanditaya vidhatuhu.
Purvornidhaya karapallavarochishayat.
पूर्वोर्निधाय करपल्लवरोचिषायत्
Samlalitam hridi vibhorabhavasya kuryat.
संलालितं हृदि विभोरभवस्य कुर्यात्.
Just try to remember the word to word equivalent while learning this verse, so that the whole picture of this picture will come before our eyes once we recite the verse. This should come within our minds and